Jiu-jitsu, you find a bunch of autistic nerds in a gym that all have the same goal. Perfect. Five things I've learnt from the questions and the conversations I've had with my guests. Now, I've had a range of guests on. I've had successful musicians, artists, high-level MMA coaches, grapplers, even graphic designers. And there's a common theme that I've picked up from all of these guys. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a Vegas shirt. That's because after a hard day at work, I like to come home and pretend that I'm still there. And to be quite honest, part of my soul is still in Las Vegas after CJI. Now, number one on the list, everybody that I've had on has become obsessed with their craft, whether that's writing rhymes, jiu-jitsu, art. All of them have become obsessed to some extent. And I think this says a lot because, if you want to do something, you have to go in on it. And, even for myself, I broke my leg and I realized just how much I missed jiu-jitsu, and that made me become obsessed with being a mediocre coach in a small town at a very high level gym. When I say become obsessed, these guys lived and breathed it. And that could be time spent on the mats, in front of a piece of paper, drawing, painting. Every single one of them has become obsessed. Number two, all of these guys at some point have risked it for the biscuit. Now, that could be moving states, that could be going all in, investing money. All of them at some point in their career, from whatever that is, have risked it. And, you hear people talk all the time about that being the scariest part. And, it definitely doesn't work for everybody, but at some point these guys all took a risk, and it's all paid off for them, really. Whether that was Craig moving to Melbourne to pursue jiu-jitsu with a high-level coach. Jeremy Skinner did the same thing. Sesta, headlock, actually putting music out. I can't think of anything more scary than putting your music out there, recording you doing what you love for the masses. Shane, Realism, or Shane Cooker, designing what they design, paint what they paint, and putting it out there for the masses to critique in Instagram comments or when someone walks past a wall. You really have to love it, and that's why the risk is worth it. Number three on this list, all of these guys have surrounded themselves with like-minded people. Now, depending on what you do, that could be quite easy or quite hard. Jiu-jitsu, you find a bunch of autistic nerds in a gym that all have the same goal. Perfect. That sounds like absolute MMA St. Kilda. With the music, you hear Sesta and Headlock both talk about linking up with people on the internet, which growing up, my parents warned me about that, but man, maybe I should have met some more strangers on the internet. All of these guys, even Reels, right? He's got a bunch of artists around him, and that, an artist could be anything from a musician to a painter to graphic designers. You have to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. I've said it a few times on this channel, but if you surround yourself with 5 shit cunts, you will be the 6th shit cunt. And, all of these guys have surrounded themselves with like-minded people. Number 4 on the list of things that I have learnt from people much more successful and talented than myself. You've got to chase it 100%. All of these people have put all their time and effort when they were, you know, some of them aren't doing that anymore, but you hear them talk about it, and, you know, like I said, we go back to number one, they were all obsessed, and, you know, you got to go after it. And, you know, whether you listen to the boomer Joe Rogan, be the hero in your own story, or, you know, anything like that, they all went after it 100%. To pack up all your shit and move to another state to chase something as ridiculous as jiu-jitsu, man, so many people will call you crazy. You know, even when I did it, I had people I considered close mates call me crazy for doing it. And I mean, it didn't pay off for me, but, you know, I do coach jiu-jitsu now, and I do get to travel around Australia and to New Zealand to do it. So in a way, it kind of has. It just doesn't pay me anywhere near as much as Craig or Jeremy. Number 5 on this list. All these guys, they didn't just find their niche or, you know, find some success in their craft. They all kept learning. You know, you can hear Sesta talk about starting out in a program to make beats, and then, you know, he's moved on to the MPC. You know, Craig moved from a gym full of hobbyists in Adelaide to pursue jiu-jitsu. He moved to absolute MMA. It's similar with Jeremy too. They moved from their hometown to another state to learn jiu-jitsu, and then they've gone on to move overseas. You know, Shane Cooker, easily the most talented motherfucker I have ever met in my life. Like, this guy's that talented, he could give me 20% of his talent and he would still be more talented than anybody else I know. He fucking tattoos, he paints, he designs rash guards. He designed our First Nations Jiu-Jitsu rash guard, and that is a rash guard that I've had more comments and people ask me where to buy it than anything else that I wear. Who knows? Maybe people will ask me about this shirt and they will have to come to Vegas with me in August. But you have to keep learning, you know. We've all, as you know, I can relate it to jiu-jitsu, you know, we've all know people or trained with people that, you know, once they get their black belt, they're done. They're still doing the same body lock pass from close guard, which I didn't even actually know was a thing. But, you know, once you reach a certain level, you just have to keep going. And these conversations that I've had, the whole point of me doing a quick Razz was I wanted to ask questions to people that I admire and look up to, and I use that very loosely when I talk about realism. But all of these guys have gone on to do amazing things. Like, you know, Richie, the story that he told us about what he overcame, and now he's wrapping hands for the UFC. He's working with one of the deadliest kickboxers South Australia has ever produced. You know, funny story about Richie too is, you know, and while you're on this journey of trying to make something happen for yourself, you know, you will come across people that shut you down. I was on a building site one day and a guy brought up Richie to me, and he kind of had a bit of a chuckle at himself because he saw Richie putting himself out there on Instagram and chasing it. This motherfucker drives a hoist lift on the side of a building site, and he has the audacity to make comments about a guy like Richie, who's a very interesting fella. You drive a hoist, mate. You know, we've all got to make money, but don't be shitting on someone that's chasing it, you know. And everybody, all of them, I'm sure, have faced criticism and, you know, people trying to shut them down for going after it. But man, that's all part of it, I guess. Hey, you know, even with this, you see a lot of people support you. You notice the people that don't support you more. It's this is all something for me to do, to learn how all these people became successful. And I've been blown away by the stories and how similar they all are. There's always crossovers between all of them. And I really look forward to sitting down with more people and having more conversations, asking more questions. And of course, there's always going to be a little bit of Razz in there, you know. I've got to ask some ridiculous questions and have a bit of a laugh. But, you know, I hope you guys that are tuning into this are getting as much out of it as me. Another one, for instance, that, you know, spun me out was Aaron from Low and Slow Basics. You know, he was a butcher, would give advice to people coming in to buy meat, you know, and COVID hit and he started a YouTube channel. Man, that dude is a black belt in barbecuing, right? You know, I remember growing up, seeing my old boy work his way around a barbecue. I was like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. He still cooked a mean barbecue. But then, you know, for the Volks fight, Aaron came around and the meat he served, was unbelievable. I've never tasted anything like that in my life. And, you know, there's another guy that took advantage of a situation that he probably didn't fully grasp, that it was there in front of him during COVID when we were all sitting in front of our TVs and wasting away. But like I said, guys, there's quite a few things that I've learned from all of this, and I look forward to interviewing more people, having a good old yarn, talking shit, and let's see what else we can learn. I've got some pretty cool guests lined up. I'm going to do a bit more different type of content too. Might have to call this a quick Razz Productions. But yeah, you know, I want to get in the studio with some of my friends and see how they put together some of their music. I want to go out with Cooker and watch him paint a wall. I've got a lot of people around me that I look up to and take, you know, that inspire me. And hopefully some of these videos, the ramblings that I put up, you guys will learn something too. Thank you very much. Peace.